Now we turn to looking at Venn diagrams and testing them, rather categorical syllogisms, for validity. As we saw before, the idea is that Venn diagrams are used to test categorical syllogisms to see whether they're valid or invalid. And here's the steps on how to do that. Let's take a basic sample argument. Being a categorical syllogism, it of course has two premises, premise 1, premise 2, and one conclusion. And of course, also being a categorical syllogism, that means that it has three terms: Republican, collectivist, and socialist. Now, in order to diagram the argument properly, we need to know the following stuff. We need to know the premises, which we have here and here, the conclusion, which is here. We also have to know what our terms correspond to in the diagram. We have the S circle, the P circle, and the M circle, and we need to know which terms are going to apply to these particular circles. And here's how we do it. Always works this way. Assuming the arguments have been translated properly and put in proper standard form, the subject of the conclusion is always the S term. So socialist is conveniently enough our S term. The predicate of the conclusion is always the P term. In this case, Republican will be our P term. The term that does not occur in the conclusion, but occurs in both premises, is the middle term. In this case, it would be collectivist. So, socialist is our S term, Republican is our P term, and collectivist is our M term. Now we go to the actual diagram. Now the first thing to do is diagram premise 1. In this case, we have no Republicans or collectivists. So we have no P, R, M. And this is a E claim, a no P, R, M claim. And so to diagram this, we have to shade the intersection between the circles. Now, in the case of the two circles, you just have two circles, so you just shade that intersection. But here we have three circles. So what do we do in this case? Well, the first part is easy. So we shade here, destroying the area between P and M. And remember, shading, when it comes to a Venn diagram, is saying there's nothing there. The area is empty, destroyed, devoid of anything. Now, if we were to stop there, we would not be saying that no P or M. We'd be saying that no P or M, except those that happen to be S. Except for, for some happen to be S, which would be kind of odd. What we want to say is not all no P or M, except those that happen to be S. We have to say that no P or M. So we shade here as well. So when shading, effectively ignore the third circle, because it deals with the shading, it's all or no. So when you're doing a no shading, you shade the intersection between the two circles, effectively ignoring the third circle. Now with the X, that'll be a little bit different. We'll see that in another example. Now we go to premise 2, which is all socialists are collectivist. S is socialist, and our collectivist is the M term. So you need to show that all of the S's are M's. And we do this by destroying or shading all the S's that don't happen to be M's. So we get rid of these S's that are not M's. Now once again, the question arises, what do we do about here? This is, S, but also P, so what do we do? Well, we stopped here. We would say all S are M, except those that happen to be P, which is not what we're saying. We're saying that all S are M. So, in order to say this, we have to shade here. So in shading an all, you always shade the outer circle, what I call the fat crescent, or the cookie with a bite out of it, and it'll always have that shape. Then the final step is to not do anything to the argument, the diagram anymore, and simply look at the conclusion. And if you can read the conclusion off of that diagram, the argument is valid. And if you can't, it's invalid. So let's look. What we need to be able to see is no S, R, P. And if we look at it, we see that in order to diagram that, we have to shade in that area. But we don't, of course, because we don't diagram the conclusion, just the first two premises. But we see what we need to see, namely the intersection between S and P is empty, which shows that no S or P, no socialist Republicans, and so we can safely conclude that the argument is, in fact, valid. So we test out, and that's a basic Venn diagram testing for validity.